What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear with coaches Skip Hill, Andrew Barry, myself, Scott McNally, and all of our programming is brought to you by you, the people of Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. We are brought to you by, I almost said evalbloodanalysis.com. Get your lab work done by Dave if you're in the UK, but that's the wrong show.
My wife says I'm a pretty princess.
We are brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there for additional savings. And, of course, go to supplementsource.ca if you are in Canada. Guys, we are at this show comes out like Skip's a week out at this point. You don't look any leaner than when you were 2 weeks out.
I don't look any leaner than I did it 10 weeks out. How about that?
Oh,
no. Just kidding.
We recorded 2 shows at once, guys, so that's why I can make that joke. We're excited for you, though, man. And I got to say, too, that as a friend and as just a fan of Skip, like I've been following you for a long time, man. I am, and I know what it's taken to get here now, and I take some personal pride and like kind of I get some excitement out of it to see you pulling it together again, man, because I know that it took you a lot to, a lot of questioning. Can I do this, and all of that stuff.
The
and
injuries, everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm very grateful
things that
for the opportunity to be able to do it. So that's what I try to keep at the forefront. The very cool thing is my dad and my girls are going to be in Pittsburgh too. So it's
nice.
It's just I'm flattered. One. And, win, lose, or draw, it's probably the last rodeo.
Okay.
I enjoy it. I love the grind. I love the process. But I see the signs. The signs are I don't want to do something I'm not good at. You know what I mean? Good. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be Gordie Howe who just stays on the ice, because of the passion of I don't want to do that. So I think it's the last hurrah. It's going to be bittersweet, but it is what it is. I'm enjoying it, and it's helped to work with Justin. So
I'll
be there to watch it.
Nice. And regardless of how it goes, I'm grateful that you can do it on your terms. Yep. I think that's important.
Yeah. And I'm trying to keep that in perspective as well. And I think it's becoming more clear to me as it gets closer.
Yeah.
Where before it was just like, I want to kick ass. I want to, I have to be really good. Now it's more like, I'm still going there to be the absolute, best that I can. But perspective, just really happy to be injury free, have the opportunity, because a few years ago with those injuries, I really didn't think I was going to ever, I was told you're done. So yeah, it'll be cool.
All right, guys. Well, I'm sure you're going to be cheering for Skip. And, listen, we've got some questions. In fact, we got a bunch of questions. We've got a physique critique, too, from one of our Patreon people. And we had one question. I don't know how popular of a topic this is, but somebody asked in the YouTube comments, and by the way, I'll mention, too, guys, if you enjoy the show and you are new to our programming, if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you along for all our shows. We do several bodybuilding podcasts that come out each week. And if you're enjoying this show, then please hit the like button. That like button helps us out a ton. Leave comments. Comment with questions for the next show, and we will tackle your questions then. We had a guy asking about, now we've talked about this before, combining Tren and Deca. And I'm going to try to find the exact question here. I can't remember where it was. I've got a bunch of them. But yeah, that was the gist of it, was combining them both at kind of I think this might have been it. Let's see. Tren cycle. What do you guys think of a Nandrolone and Tren cycle with, I'm going to take it a step further, no test base, or a very small, I thought it was a bad idea at first, right? And then I saw the no test base. Yeah. Sorry to our viewer who wrote it.
Horrible idea.
We'll set him straight, help him out with no test base, or a very small one, like 50 milligrams a week, to avoid estrogen-related side effects and crazy aromatization. He says, just did a few Nandrolone-only cycles, and I really liked it. I was thinking of doing something like 100 to 200 of Tren Ace per week. He didn't give us a dose on the Nandrolone.
Can I first say that I think we've, as a show, have played a role in this with our talking about Tren and not just jumping to 50 to 100 milligrams every day or every other day, but bringing it down and experimenting with 10, 15, 20, 25 milligrams, a day, and maybe capping your total intake at 150 milligrams a week. I'm seeing that more and more with people that are reaching out to me with what they're doing, talking to other coaches with what they're doing and plans with their clients. And I think that, I don't want to say we're the only people that were talking about this, but I feel like over the years, we've been the ones that have kind of said, hey, why do you need to jump to 500 milligrams of Tren a week? Like, let's see what doing 20 milligrams a day looks like. And I think we've kind of played a role in the industry of getting people to take less Tren, reap the rewards, and have less side effects. Mm-hmm. So have you guys seen that and maybe inquiries you're getting or talking to other coaches?
I'm definitely seeing it become a lot more popular. 200 is my kind of high-end dosing. Yeah. And gosh, man, 5 years ago, if you were to say that, people would have been like, oh, that's crazy. That's half a dose. You need 400.
That's a girl's dose.
Yeah.
I can say, I'm breaking the rule here, and I'm talking about the gear, what I'm doing. I have had gyno issues once in my life.
Okay.
And I ran my Tren Ace higher this prep than I have before, and started getting gyno. And that forced me to back it off. Found that kind of funny and odd at the same time. But when I backed it off, didn't lose any benefit, but didn't have the gyno.
There you go.
Were you going at it from the perspective of, well, this is probably my last dance getting on stage, so...
Like, let's just see what happens here. So I started to ramp it up as it was getting closer. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, wait a minute. And then I look at AI dosing, and I go, no. You know what I mean? It's almost like a denial type thing.
Yeah. Can't
then it's like, no, yeah. Like, it's not nah, it's yeah. So backed it off. Thankfully, and this is a good example of the shorter ester, because if that were a hex or an enanthate, it would have taken a while for that to come down and for those blood levels to come down. So it actually started to change and go in a positive direction relatively quickly. I didn't even have to counter it, which I was glad, because I have never used Caber.
Yeah.
And didn't want to.
I have a client, speaking of the shorter ester, Skip, that just reached out to me yesterday, and he's like, listen, man, I'm not trying to be like a difficult client, but I'm getting some bad anxiety. Like I'm waking up in the middle of the night with panic attacks. I'm like, oh. And he mentioned before we were using ECA. Could it be the ECA? Could it be the Tren? Could it be the fact that he's 4 weeks out and we need to get a couple more pounds off? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of factors kind of together there. But, is the Tren helping the situation? Probably not, So I told him, and of course I asked him yesterday. I was like, well, all right, what are you due for your shot today? And he's like, I already took it. I'm like, because I'm thinking, let's pull it, and you're going to get relief from at least that aspect within 2 days, if it's the Tren or whatever. So at least we'll be able to see. We took the ECA out as well. And I'm not a fan, man. ECA works good for me out the gate. I'm on top of the world. But then those like norepinephrine highs aren't quite as high, and the lows keep digging lower for me. It's just me. I know some people absolutely love it, but I can't deal with the highs and lows. I prefer Clen, just the stability, but I guess I'm getting off topic, aren't I?
One thing I did notice on those higher doses of Tren, and a lot of people find this out as well, I did, sleeping like a baby.
Yeah.
As the dose went up, my sleep score was going up.
Ooh, there's the title for our show.
I know. It was an odd
sleep
one.
Score with Tren.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was an odd one. So since I've cut it down a little bit, it's not like noticeable. Like, oh yeah, my sleep is crap now. But I'm one of the few that doesn't have any type of sleep issues from Tren. I am warm. I'm definitely warm, but I don't sweat profusely.
Yeah.
Through the sheets and that sort of thing. But I'm also not using T3.
I'm going to say that a lot of times people attribute tren sweats at night to tren, and it's really Novoldex and all the anti-estrogen. When you tank your estrogen, males, females start sweating all throughout the night.
Well, my estrogen's tanked and I'm still not sweating, so there's that.
Well, no, but I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just saying everyone's like, oh, the tren sweats. It's like, well, no, dude, we had a milligram of Arimidex in a day for these last 12, 15 days. That's why you're sweating so much. I mean, if you look up the literature, females that are on anti-cancer drugs, right, tamoxifen and whatnot, Novoldex, that's one of the main side effects is those hot flashes, because
we're females in menopause, right?
Well, I'm just saying we're basically making you a menopausal female in that situation, or a menopausal male. Mm-hmm. But I had to send you a picture.
We're quick to blame tren for everything. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Anything that happens, I'm on tren, it's causative. It has to be the tren. It's like, goddamn. Yeah.
I just sent you a picture, Scott, of a client, high level client, 0 tren used in his prep. I think because people are like, oh, I can't achieve a certain look, or I can't.
Yes.
And I just wanted to show people, this is a client that we got on stage about maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago.
And, give me a second here.
Not a drop of tren was used in this prep.
I can't quickly pull things up. Like I used to be able to just drop them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is harder with like the share button, because I always miss the share button when I'm trying to share stuff. I'm like, oh, come on, hit it. Also, too, I didn't want to share our entire text chat. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, and the funny thing is I saw the first bigger picture that came up, and I'm like,
yeah.
Like that doesn't add. Oh, the smaller picture below it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nah. And anybody listening now is thinking that it's something nasty. It's not something nasty.
No.
It's just, if you knew and saw the picture, you would get it. It would make sense.
Yeah, we looked at him, I think, on the last episode. Was it that we talked about him? He looked incredible, man.
Yeah, about a month ago.
Yeah,
no tren.
That's incredible anyway, though. That physique is insane.
Yeah. It's, we discussed it way back in January, and he doesn't speak very good English, but his wife was like, no tren. It makes him not feel good, and I'm like, okay, we can absolutely do this prep. There's no prerequisite in my plans that says you have to take tren. Okay.
Yeah.
If I wasn't straight, I'd probably bang him. I'm pretty sure I would.
You might want to. Who's to say he would want you though, Skip? You know what I'm saying?
He's 100% straight. He's gonna be a new father very soon.
Skip could turn him.
Because I'm
Skip
not.
could turn him.
You're like, he's 100% straight. So am I, Andrew. God damn.
Yeah, but
you're only 90% straight, Skip. What?
Let's just say on the straight scale, like he's up here, and Skip, because you get your nails done like every week. You're like,
okay, fair enough.
You're there. You're just on the metrosexual
But you
side.
said he had a kid. I'm like, I got 4. Like, I've been married for 32 years. I think I'm pretty straight. I don't know.
There's a lot of guys on the DL in the bodybuilding
That is
world.
true. In the closet.
And I totally kid. And I was more saying that he is straight. He wouldn't be interested in you. I wasn't insinuating anything the other way about you on him. But anyway, let's get back to the question, right? The question is, should I combine Trenbolone and another Nandrolone like Deca or NPP? And my equivocal answer is no.
Yeah,
I can tell you my experience with doing that once in my late 20s yielded some of the worst lab work I saw. And I'm talking 6 weeks into the cycle, to the point where it made me stop the cycle immediately and go into a complete health phase. I think it was my HDL was down to like 11 or 12 or something like that. And it would have been like 52 just 6 weeks prior. So, you know what I mean? And it wasn't a very heavy cycle. It was like, let's say 600 or 700 tests, 600 Deca, and maybe 250 milligrams of tren a week, something to that effect. Because I just wanted to see, and I purposely did my lab 6 weeks into it because I wanted to see, is this a dangerous thing? Is it something I should or shouldn't do and suggest to clients? And, we all do things on ourselves because we want to be able to give educated advice to clients. We've never taken or had someone take a supplement or drug that we haven't taken ourselves. Right. And I think that's what coaching should do. Coaches should do. We shouldn't be recommending things that we don't have experience with and act like we do know how it's going to react. So, my advice is to pick one or the other. And again, and we've talked about this before, I'm not against Tren in the off season. I think that used to be a no-no back in the day, but with what the preamble that I started with I think we've done a good job of educating people that you can get more with Tren by taking less, and Skip reiterated that with his own experience recently. I would say, test and Tren or test and Deca, pick one. That's just my advice.
It's funny that, because I know you well enough, and most of the listeners know as far as your advice and, over the years, we don't have hard and fast rules with gear.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. This is just a flat no. Like, it's just a no.
Yeah.
And that should say something. The other thing that says something is if you're in your 20s and you go into a health phase and come off of a cycle after 6 weeks, you got to know that's pretty bad. Because when you're in your 20s, you're like, I'll be good.
Yeah. It's like when you're in your like young 20s, anyone that's like 35 or plus, you're like, oh, they're old. Their life's over.
Yeah, they're
and then
masters.
you get to be like 30 and you're like, oh, 40s, like they're basically 1 foot in the grave, And then you get to be 40 and you're like, oh, I'm only halfway through life, like. But still, that clock is ticking. So you're like, everything health related becomes that much more amplified in your life, because you know that at some point your body's going to start going backwards in terms of functionability, strength, all those types of things that we try to build up in bodybuilding. So you do everything you can from a health standpoint while still trying to push the limit a little bit. As Skip says, professional drug users here in the anabolic sense, and I agree. But yeah, in terms of hard rules, we don't have many. But for me, if a client was like, I want to do this, I'd be like, no, I don't support that. You can do your PEDs if that's what you want to do, but that's not something I'm going to support.
100% on. I don't have anything to add to it.
I'm with you. I got another one here. I just grabbed this quickly, and this is one of the examples I always like to give of a guy that I worked with of a no Tren situation. This guy is also no Tren here.
Oh yeah,
didn't need any Tren at all to get that.
Great look, great clean look.
Yeah, he looked really good for that one. He won his pro card.
Did he win
there? Yeah. This was North Americans, and I mean the kid has some decent genetics too. It was his second show, literally. We qualified. Let me just say, and then went to North Americans, and then freaking won his pro card. Open class too, not like masters or anything.
Let me just add something. When I was younger, and arguably to this day, but certainly when I was younger, when I was a teenager, that shape of the pecs was something that I just wished that I had.
Yeah.
Where I know this is weird and it's hard to explain. And the only way to explain it is when you lift your arms up and that line and the nipple sits on that line of the chest.
I know what
to
you're saying.
me, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Almost kind of pointing down a little bit like that. I know, but there's no other way to explain it.
Yeah.
It's so, to me, when I was a teenager, it was so manly and so masculine and like, oh man, that's what I want my chest to look like. And 41 years later, and it doesn't.
You bring up a good point, because when you're younger, you see that stuff. I follow this page on Instagram called, I think it's like Golden Era Bodybuilding. You guys probably follow it too. Mm-hmm. And they always post really cool throwbacks of like individual posing routines or segments of particular shows. One time we should just break some of those down and go over the physiques, because I think that'd be a lot of fun, because I find myself just standing there watching, and they didn't have the technology with PEDs that we do today,
Yeah. But almost every one of them had that chest.
Yes, so that's where I was going with. That was like the standard. And I know I say this a lot, that I feel like there was just a time period where genetically the cream of the crop of the human race was born from 1960 or 1970 to a certain time frame, right? Not to say that the freaks that are out there today aren't amazing and great to look at, but there was just a class of aesthetics and mass that just kind of fit in. Like I would rather look like one of those guys, for the rest of my life than I think any other pro that's on that's
they
currently on the
would drink
circuit.
Beer, smoke cigarettes, party, eat like shit. I mean, come on.
No gear in the off season. No gear in the off season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Milk,
that was back in the day
eggs.
where you get off stage and you throw the rest of your stash away, and these guys would just go right cold turkey.
Right.
There's something to be said about that.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got a bunch of stuff though. I hope that helps him out. I mean, let me ask you this: so if I guess this would be like a part 2 to that question. So, commonly we're thinking, okay, I ran test in Nandrolone and I really liked that cycle. Or, excuse me, I think he said he ran Nandrolone only. If he is thinking, let's add something to that, and we're saying it shouldn't be Tren, let's not use Tren, would we have a suggestion on doing something else? Or are you telling him just do the same thing you've done before? If you wanted to, up it a little bit, where would you go?
So you're saying what additional PED would I add in?
Yeah, because I think that's part.
Tren.
Yeah, I think that's part of what he's saying. Is like, I really like the Nandrolone, but I want to do a little more this time. I'm thinking of adding Tren. What do you guys think? We're telling him no, but what should we? We're telling him to get away from that. But where should we direct him to?
Let's all just say it at the same time. We'll count to 3, and we'll say the compound.
Okay.
To add instead of Tren. Okay, you ready?
So just so I got it clear, it's test, Deca, and then what are we adding in?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
We're all going to say the same shit.
Well, let's see. Let's find out.
I don't know. Is this an off-season cycle? Is he trying to grow as much as possible? And he also was looking for.
If Deca's in the plan, I assume it's more of an off-season cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I got a couple options.
Just go with the first
one.
one.
Hurry up.
I got a couple options.
Pick one, because I'm going to count to 3.
There's no wrong answer.
One,
I'm
2,
struggling.
3.
EQ. Would you say Masteron?
I said Masteron. I was going to say Methyltren. I was going to say Halo. And then I said Masteron. It's not even available right now. You guys are right. EQ would be the route to go. But then I would want to do NPP.
True. But
I don't think there's a wrong answer, though. But I think me and Skip are thinking, okay, you're in an off-season cycle. Let's add another test-based product in there instead of a Nandrolone, and it's probably going to be healthier.
Right.
You're going to get more life out of this cycle, and you're probably going the distance if you're running Deca, meaning you're going to do a 20, 25-week cycle. EQ fits in with that in terms of the half-life and the building the blood levels. So, I think that would be a good marriage, and it's a great cycle.
Yeah. He's, I think, little to no test with that, so we'll see how that works out for him.
I guess I've never really done this. I don't think, at least not for myself. Well, I lie. My very first cycle was testless, but that was more of an issue of lack of availability, and I didn't know how to analyze the variables back then. 18, 19 years old, I'm just getting big, I'm getting strong,
Right.
So Tren and D-ball is not a typical cycle I would recommend to anybody today, but it's what I had access to. But I guess where I was going with that is, now I forgot where I was going with that, but. So to fill up some space to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to
say test. What about test?
Well, I was going to say, I want to see examples of people that do run only Nandrolone based cycles. I would like to learn. I want to see how do you look, because I don't really know anybody that does that, and I feel like it's a little bit more common in the Middle East. I feel like I've read on forums online that it's big in Iran and maybe Hadi or something does Deca only cycles, but I've heard it's more of a Middle Eastern programming thing of large Nandrolone cycles with no test base. Have you guys seen pictures of anyone that does that?
No, because competitors and people who compete don't do it. And I don't want to slam anybody, but it's the average Joe for some reason who is hell-bent on leaving testosterone out, and they'll give you a million reasons why, and whatever your reasons are, you're free to do whatever you want to do. But you have to, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to question it going, if competitors for coaches who have been coaching for years, decades, don't have competitors doing this, what makes you do it? I don't understand. It's almost like, well, they haven't thought of this.
Mm-hmm.
Thought of it is just not very smart. We kind of eliminated that as a good idea years
it'd
ago.
Be like I'm going to do a 100% protein diet in the off season and not consume carbohydrates or fats, right? Or I just want more energy. I'm going to only eat carbohydrates and no protein, right?
Yeah. So here's a couple things is that I do have a client that European guy, non-competitor, wants to be really careful with his hair. And he ran a Deca only cycle and actually used 3 milligrams of injectable estrogen with it. And he said he did really well with it. So I'll say that. And but once again, non-competitor, decided that he was doing something different, right? But it worked for him, I guess. And this is before we started working together. And then Jordan Peters.
What did he have that
experiment.
to compare to? Can I ask?
Yeah.
Like really, what did he have it to? Because I'm not picking on the guy, but had he run testosterone before? Can you compare it? Is there any contrast?
He didn't have the libido issues. He was able to manage the cycle successfully. You know what I mean? That's the
he then
mark.
later took testosterone and went, "Oh my God, my libido is really good. I guess it wasn't that good." That's where my brain goes.
How'd he look?
Like, what do you contrast that against?
Yeah, it was before we worked together. So this is just information I have about what he had done in the past.
No, fair enough. Like I said, I don't want to beat him up. But.
Of course. Jordan Peters did a high Nandrolone cycle, and he did well with it. It was no test. And I guess what Scott was postulating was, and then now Dave, I've heard Dave talk about this a little bit too, that maybe what's going on is, so DHN isn't going to be nearly as powerful as DHT. So there's going to possibly be some issues there, with libido without having DHT in your system. But if you have a super high dose, like if you crank that Deca, that you'll do better with it if you have enough DHN. That's maybe possibly what it comes down to. So, and Dave has said
you could guess and wonder, or you could take testosterone with. I'm not trying to be dicky about it, but it seems so illogical or nonsensical.
Can I also say that Jordan Peters is not a good example, because I feel like if you gave him access to any drug and you can only take that one drug, I think he'd still look like a jacked gorilla with muscle bursting at the seams. Like, the guy just screams an apple.
He does on TRT, for Christ's sake. Look
the libido side, that's what I'm getting at. Because most of my big thing is like, oh, you go on that without test, and you're going to get really shut down and get the quote-unquote Deca dick, So these are examples of people that didn't get it while running Deca only.
Something tells me that for him, like, a large part of his life, he didn't give a shit if he lost his libido, because it was just muscle over everything. And that's not a knock. I'm saying... Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because he grew so hard, so fast, and I mean, his training's brutal, So he didn't have any loss in training performance, no matter what compound he's on. He's always super strong. I guess it's hard to use genetic anomalies as a basis to prove or disprove whether something would work, I guess.
Theory, whether it's training, nutrition, you got a question.
I believe it on the libido side of things, because I feel like you're going to shut somebody down no matter what. And, that's where I'm coming from. With both of these cases, him and my client, I'm not talking about like what were the gains like, but like, I mean, personally, I've run 500 test, 400 Deca, and I kind of felt like libido wasn't as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I just always felt more shut down with Deca in general.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
All right.
I can run a lot of tests and other compounds that have nothing to do with libido, and then I diet, and I have shitty sex drive anyway. So there's that.
That's a mechanism of the diet.
No, I know, but that's
for the listeners. I'm saying for the listeners.
Yeah. And so many people would go to, oh, what are the compounds? It's not the compounds; it's the fact that I'm dieting and I'm exhausted.
All right, we've got a physique critique. Jump to that real quick, and this is a guy from Patreon, and actually, where did that go? Give me just a second here.
While you're looking for that, Sharp Holmes listed a comment. A lot of Mexicans do Nandrolone only cycles, it looks like.
Do they?
And Tanya says, and she's a female, obviously, I've done mostly NPP, first cycle only NPP, but I'm a female, so don't know how valuable that is to this. It's not really, because females are not just little men, a lot of times you'll have females where you'll run a single compound without testosterone. I think most will feel better when running testosterone to at least get their blood levels to like 45 to 65 nanograms per deciliter. Brain health, just optimal functioning. But yeah, running NPP as a standalone as a female is not an odd thing at all.
Yeah. Guys, let's talk about intra-workout carbs and saving money. So like the past 10, 15 years, intra-workouts become super popular. It's a great way to support pre-workout insulin use. It's great for recovery, and it's great for endurance in those long workouts. Here's the thing. It's really expensive. It's not only expensive for us, it's expensive for supplement companies. They really don't make a lot of money off of it. That's where True Nutrition comes in. So True Nutrition, they're not only a retailer, they're also a manufacturer. They're actually making a lot of the products that you guys are already buying from other companies. So just think about it. You're going to cut out the middleman. The only thing you're going to miss out on is the fancy labels and the branding. Outside of that, you're getting the exact same high quality products, but you're getting it directly from the source. If you're going to pay for the price of highly branched cyclic dextrin, ensure that you're getting 25 grams per scoop, not of a mix of carbs, but just of highly branched cyclic dextrin. We can mix the other stuff in later, Use our code THINK, get some savings. Plus, it's like voting for us. It lets them know that you support what we're doing. All right, so this is a client of mine. He's also a guy from Patreon, and he asked if we could do a physique critique. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you guys have to say. This is the Lolly, if he happens to be hanging with us right now. Now, I can give you some background here that it was a couple years ago when we started working together that he weighed about 200 pounds. He got up this offseason to 318, was it? Something like that. And now he's at, I believe picture is this week's check-in, and he's 265, 268, somewhere in there.
I figured he was up there somewhere because those are basically Barney Rubble's feet.
He's taller. He's 6'1", too.
He's a big guy. Yeah.
Is he? He competes, right?
Never competed in his life. Never even had the thought of competing until I put it in his head. Now he's going to do it.
So you need to put the thought in his head.
Oh, he's got it.
He needs to go and win the super heavyweights at either nationals at the end of the year or push it to and do like the North Americans or USAs next year, because structurally he's all there. Could his quads be or his leg be a little bit bigger? Sure.
Yeah.
But for someone that doesn't compete, I'm actually blown away. This is
and somebody who's
excellent.
gained literally 100 pounds in the course of a couple years. Like
I think you sent me pictures of one when he started, right? One time.
Yeah, I could find him. It'd be tough to pull him up right now.
Is this the only picture you have?
I've got some more. Let me throw up the rear double.
I thought his chest was a little thin in the front bicep, but that's all right.
Yeah, I want to hear what you guys have to say, because keep in mind he's still pretty new. So our thought was here, he's never dieted down before. Okay, we've only worked together growing. So we're in his very first diet phase right now, and it's kind of fun to get to do something different because he has eaten a lot of food, and so I'm sure it kind of feels good to him to get to take the break. But yeah, this is where he's at, and we know we need more work, in order to kind of really seal the deal at a national show. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Where does he need the most work?
I think it's back and chest.
I would agree with that.
I think the chest is a little bit thin. The back, he's got great shoulders, so.
Well, hold on though. So you see how he's leaning back a little bit in that front double?
Sure do.
I want to know if he just angles forward just a little bit more. Are we still going to think that? Are we losing some of the chest depth because of his slightward back lean? I can tell you right now, I wouldn't see him finishing outside, if he's in shape, finishing outside of the top 5 at his first national show.
That I could agree with. Yeah,
and that's with this current size.
Yes.
I think the chest is still thin, and the reason I say that is if his shoulders weren't as good as they are, you can see where it kind of just dips down. I understand that he could probably pose a little bit better, especially with a lack of experience of posing. Yeah. But to me, the chest looks a little bit thin. The back looks better, like even there, than it did from the back, doing the back double by. I think his upper back, quite frankly, if you go back to the relaxed from the back, I think his upper back is a little weaker.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
He needs to fill in the traps and rhomboids and get thicker through there.
It's got a little dip on that right side, too.
A little bit. Scaling shoulder, yeah.
But, I mean, and who knows, maybe with a few posing tweaks that we might be able to get a little bit more upper back projection. But quality super heavyweight. I mean, he's 265 here?
265, and this is dieting now some, so he's not like holding a lot of extra fluid. This is like a legit 265.
Would he be upset if you shared that like he was or wasn't using PEDs?
We won't go there because I just don't know. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to out him because we didn't have that conversation. But
yeah, well, what I'm going at with is,
but he gained 100 pounds, so.
if this is him, let's just say he's not maxed out on PEDs. He's using a comparable, dose to most guys in his group. He'd probably end up 245, 242 on stage. Maybe carved up 245, 246. He'd be very hard to beat. Obviously, a lot of posing tweaks need to happen, but the raw size, he looks like a guy that can probably get up to 280 lean in the near future.
Dude, this is the first time that he's pushed up that heavy. So that's why I'm saying if we diet down and then push up again, I think he'll be able to take it even further with a good foundation.
Yeah, I'm impressed. So you heard it here, guys. Scott McNally can help you put on 100 pounds of muscle in about a year and a half.
Any of you. Yeah.
Anybody.
Any random person.
No, I'm really impressed both with him and you, Scott. You guys did a great job.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure he will too. And let me just tell you guys too, if anybody's thinking to themselves like, well, I can't do that, or what does it take to do that? I can give you one clue. He is an absolute animal in the gym. And I'm not saying he's in there set after set after set all day long, but the work that he does is some fucking intense training.
He just wrote, I don't care, have at it. Okay. I assume is he.
He's pushed it a little heavier this year. He ended up going a little bit on the heavier side, decent amount of growth. He has room, but I want to see what he could do without having to push it too much further, to be honest, But
moderate doses?
Moderate to, super heavyweight moderate. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, okay. I mean, but that's still moderate.
He's competitive.
Like
literally competitor, superweight head competitor dosing is a little bit on the lower end of that, good gram a test-ish, somewhere in there, So it's not like crazy.
Yeah, for a guy his size, that's actually kind of low, honestly. A lot of guys are pushing 1,500 milligrams and then 1,500 milligrams of EQ or something else with it. So, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and then I think he's been a absolute phenomenal responder to growth. Like some people, like you've talked about, Andrew, but I'd been wondering too, as we were getting really heavy. I'm thinking once we pull the growth, if we pull that back, is this all going to go away? Because he does partition fluids really well. Insulin just goes to all the right places and blows everything up the way we want it to. There's something unique about the way he stores water, which may be a good thing, or it might be tricky dieting him in. You know what I'm saying? Is he the kind of guy that's going to be, full 1 minute, flat the next kind of thing? There are some guys that are like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we're both going to learn a lot through getting him in shape here, and it's basically a trial run. But he does partition fluid well, and it seems like he is a super responder to growth. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, solid.
All right. Well, I think he could use that encouragement too, honestly, because he hasn't seen himself as a competitor before. So I appreciate
that's just because he hasn't competed.
Feedback. Yeah.
I mean, if he goes to a local show in 85% shape, everyone's just going to gawk at him and be like, "Are you the guest poser?" I mean. So
he put that size on very, very quickly. Psychologically, it's not there yet.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? It hasn't settled from a psychological standpoint. So
it didn't take him 20 years for me to crack 250 in shape on stage like it did me. So, I'm like, is it going to go away? But good for him. Very impressive.
All right. Okay, so we got in a big conversation last episode about the total milligram of the hormone versus the ester weight and all of that. When you draw and calculate dosage, do you account for the actual hormone and inject accordingly?
No. I go me personally, and I would say 99% of coaches out there probably are talking about. If it's at 300 milligrams a test and 300 milligrams a test 3 days a week, take the 1 cc, that's 300 milligrams a test. We're not doing 347 milligrams or a cc, 1.25 cc's or whatever it might be to actually equal exactly 300 milligrams of test is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
How about you, Skip?
No, I completely agree. The only time it changes for me and sometimes for clients is, and I use myself as an example. Let's say I'm dosing every other day and I do bilateral shots because I'm not going to inject one side and have one side be sore and then the other side not. That can alter the dosage a little bit because we're talking about ticks. I'm not doing half ticks and that sort of thing. So I break it down to, if it's every other day, I calculate my dosing. Let's say I was checking in with a coach that, his name rhymed with Rustin, as an example. Yeah. I would tell him, everyday dosing. So my totals are based on 8 days. And what that does is it keeps, I'm not going to deal with half ticks and everything else. So I break it down over those, what is essentially 4 days, but it's 8 pins.
Yeah.
So they need to hit ticks and they need to be the same. So it may alter that at the end. And you have to be careful when you're dealing with, say EQ that's 400 milligram. You change a tick on 8 different pins.
Yeah, that adds
You got
up.
yourself 240 milligrams more of EQ, or less if you go down just one tick. So it can change it quite a bit, but there are going to be those not irregularities, but those subtle differences depending on how you're dosing it.
I look at it the same way as like when you're calculating the protein in someone's diet and you're not counting the
Exactly.
3 grams in oatmeal, you're not counting the 1 gram in a piece of banana or whatever, if you're using the same method of measurement every time, then just call it whatever you want to call it, right?
It's like a scale, like your scale weight is off 1.5 pounds.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Initially, you'll be 1.5 pounds heavier, but it's going to be consistent every time you weigh yourself.
Exactly.
100%. And who knows if you're using UGL gear, is that 300 actually
Exactly.
300 in the other vial, or Yeah.
I mean, all signs say that it's probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
At least for testosterone and a lot of other I've been really, I'm going to say impressed, I guess, with providers not skimping people out on products that they're selling. Just
If you
look
think
at
about it, it's good business.
it's great business.
Oh, yeah.
The ROI there, you want to make sure. It's much like it's the reason that Liquid Clen is going to be stronger, because if I'm selling Clen and my Clen is dosed at 200 microgram on the dot and everybody else is dosing it at 240 saying it's 200, you're going to feel that more. Yeah, and you're not going to feel mine. But I'll go back to this with the dosing. Just like any other bodybuilder, when in doubt, round up.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be the same, by the way, because the dosing has been pretty awesome. I wonder if it'll be the same with the issues that have been going on with getting raws in and all of that. Are there because here's what I've seen, and you guys tell me, but if you've seen something different, I've heard people telling me that some sources don't have any Primo, don't have any Mast. I've heard other sources that I know are trustworthy. I've seen that their pricing has gone up. And then I've seen other companies that have been the same, good price on Primo all the way through, but there are sources that I'm not so sure about. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, either they purchased a huge lot order of Primobolan raw powder before all this happened, or what are they putting in there?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for those who aren't well stocked. Because I'm looking at the China situation going, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
By the time I run out, everything will be fine again.
Right.
It used to be too that we'd get everything we needed before our prep. Like if I'm doing a prep, I'm getting, these are the exact things I need. I'm going to have it all on hand because it's going to take 3 months to get more. You don't want to run out. But nowadays I feel like people are, hey, if I run out, I'll just order some more. It'll be here in 3 days, So
yeah, true.
Get your stuff early. No.
And it almost sucks because how often do you get clients like, oh, shoot, I ran out of Proviron or I ran out of Winstrol. Like, it's going to be a few days till I get it in. And it's like, well, now you're 5 days out from the show when I really want you to have it in. So do you have a buddy or someone that maybe planned ahead for the show and ordered their stack? Or I don't know what you guys do, but I make a whole sheet, 20 weeks out, 15 out. tells them what to take, but it's not like I tell them this is not an actual prescription. This is just so you know what to have on hand and when. By this
rough idea,
week out,
yeah.
make sure you have these because this is the earliest I would possibly throw this in. I want you to have it on hand, and
Yeah.
people still forget.
We always go over it. I don't write it out, but I'll tell them, like basically we'll talk it out,
Yeah, I put down on my sheets that this was actually prepared by Scott McNally, and if the feds are watching,
Exactly.
all questions and inquiries should go to him.
Yeah.
No wonder I've been getting so many angry emails lately. Huh? Question for the next show. I'm running 500 EQ, 650 Test E. I have a bottle of anadrol. When would you add it in throughout the cycle? Calorie
Yesterday.
surplus, not worried about appetite loss, and blood work is in a good spot.
Why is he not worried about appetite loss? Just out of curiosity, I'm just what comes to you guys' mind?
Maybe he doesn't have an issue with it.
Oh, so he's taken anadrol before. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
like,
that's it.
well, because in my mind it's like, I guess he phrased the question like, I got a bottle of anadrol. I'm excited to take. Like I've never taken it before, and it's like, well, 3 days in you feel like $1,000,000. 6 days in you still feel great. Around day 8, 9, you start to wake up and you're like, I could push my breakfast back by 20, 30 minutes, and then by day 15 you're like, I don't want to eat.
Yeah.
But the magical thing about anadrol,
if this were a donut, I'd eat this, but it's rice and chicken. So
yeah, exactly. But the magical thing about anadrol is like you don't eat, you still grow.
Scale's still
you
going
still
up.
get the scale still goes up, which that shocked me when I first learned that like 10 or 12 years ago. I'm like, I missed a meal today, and like I'm up like 2 pounds still. Like what is going on?
Yeah.
It's magic.
All
Straight
right.
magic.
Let's see. Oh, so this is just a comment, and I don't know about this one. Scott, have to be. So I mentioned I had tried 5 Amino M1Q. I didn't feel like I noticed anything from it. It's supposed to be a fat loss benefit, but more so I was looking for a cognitive boost from it, and I didn't feel either. I didn't get any of those things. He said, Scott, you have to be pretty lean to get anything from 5 Amino M1Q, 7% or less. I don't understand.
But you are lean.
I mean,
You
I'm
are
not
lean.
7%,
Yeah, but you're lean. Like you,
Leanish.
You dropped what 20-something pounds.
Dude, it was.
How
I think
would
it was
being
30.
lean create
Okay.
a cognitive boost?
Yeah. That's what I kind of was wondering too,
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't see
know.
the connection.
Yeah. All right.
I also don't, from my experience of clients that take that, haven't seen much of anything out of it.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what we were both kind of saying. I hadn't had any clients that used it, but yeah, you had mentioned.
I have
that
clients
too.
that ask me like, "Hey, do you mind if I try this and I throw this in during a
Yeah.
prep or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, go for it." I'd be interested to watch and see if it does anything. And I think we use a protocol that maybe Vigorous Steve or someone might have talked about, which seems intelligent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it makes that much of a difference personally. And I'm also, keep in mind, while I'm open to compounds, I still think at the end of the day, we've had more than enough compounds that can get you there with competent dieting, competent, recovery modalities, cardio, all that stuff. If they were getting in shape in the 90s, I think we can get in shape in 2025.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. Can you guys go into, so this is something I did on drugs and stuff. I wanted to get your perspectives as well. First time insulin user protocol. I want to use insulin in my next push to help add size. I was thinking 3 to 5 units pre-workout on training days. I'll be on 900 tests, 600 EQ for 12 to 16 weeks during the cycle. Is currently 205 at about 15% body fat. Any suggestions are greatly appreciated. Additionally, can you speak to the possibility of using insulin to directly target growth in lagging muscles?
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's never used insulin before. He wants to use it for the first time. He was thinking about using 5 to 6 units with his pre-training meal. Is that right?
Yeah, three to 5
Pre-training
units.
meal or pre-workout?
Or
He said
pre-workout?
pre-workout. He says he wants to try it pre-workout on training days.
So if you're doing a pre-workout, make sure you're using intracarbs. Let's
Yeah.
just get that out there first. A good rule of thumb, because everyone's different, so don't hold me to it, but maybe 12 grams of carbs per unit of insulin, just to ensure you don't go hypo. And also make sure you have a readily available source of glucose, Gatorade, soda, something like that. I tell people to keep in their gym bag, or a lot of gyms, they have, coolers with Gatorade and stuff like that, so you're covered. I think what he's talking about is fine. I would definitely give that a shot. I don't see a problem with it. In terms of specifically targeting local growth, I think, who are we talking to? Scott Stevenson, about how a guy who was always pinning his insulin in a particular muscle group, that muscle group grew, like, what was it, a bicep or what? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but
I put my insulin in the wrong place, is what I'm learning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I could use biceps.
Yeah, or maybe I think his forearm or something. He said, like, he was
it was.
forearm.
I think a forearm or something, wasn't it?
And that forearm just grew, like it was twice the size of the other forearm. Now that would behoove me, like, well, why didn't you switch sides back and forth and have some meaty forearms? Because that would be kind of cool. Having one really big forearm and the other one tiny, to me, sounds like, I don't know.
A lot of jokes waiting.
Maybe it was just the right forearm and he was right-handed.
Maybe he was the left forearm. He was trying to bring it back up. You know what I mean? He was trying to balance them out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I commented. I said that I put my insulin in the top of my rec fem, and I swear that it had a better look on both sides because I would alternate workout to workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I put it in my legs too. So
I usually went shoulder.
Yeah, well, that's why you got great delts, Scott.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know. That was the reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they're so capped. But maybe he's asking also, like, days he's using it to bring up a particular body part. Is that maybe how we should look at this question?
Probably, unless he's talking about specifically, because I wasn't sure. I wasn't clear on it either.
Yeah, I think he was asking, like, to literally target, growth, like site specific.
Well, typically, when I use insulin, I'll just be honest. I rarely work out without insulin. So, and I'm talking not 20 years, but 15 years straight now, And I remember back in the days, that was taboo. You could only run insulin for 6 weeks at a time. And you had to go off because you were going to become a diabetic, which is like, you do the thinking on that. You're like, no, I'm actually preventing myself from becoming a diabetic by protecting my pancreas and the beta-acinar cells.
Granted, back then we were taking like heavy doses and covering the entire day with it. You know what I mean? You remember that?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. But I think the way me and Skip probably use it very similarly, using it around your workout time, it's almost like my pre-workout. It's almost like, the same thing as an intra-workout EAA and carb drink. They go together hand in hand, so you can promote better anabolism. So I would just say do it every day, every training day.
And I'm with you guys, by the way. You can put me in that mix of how you two would do it. I've always done it the same way. And there was a long time I still would use it. I have some now, but I'm not using it just because I'm like, I just don't want to go hypo, period. I might go now at this stage in my life, I might go hypo after I ate. So, I'm going to not mess with it.
Are you familiar with, I think it's called the GAD65 gene?
No.
So I'm going to botch this up because I haven't read about it in a while, and I've talked to Dr. Scott about it after I did a lot of reading on it, and I had a client that actually had this.
Yeah.
So basically it's an autoimmune issue where a person, and it's not all the time, it's not every time they eat, but they eat a meal, carbohydrates, they get an insulinogenic effect, releasing insulin, and their body sees this insulin as an antigen or as a foreign invader. So immediately this gene causes a release of antibodies that attach to the insulin, rendering it useless. So then your body, your pancreas, because your blood sugar is high, releases more insulin to bring you back down to normal blood sugar levels postprandial. So now you're in that post-absorptive state. Blood sugar is right around 90, 87. But about 2 hours or so after that meal been eaten, the antibodies fall off, rendering the bloodstream full of insulin, which now, what does insulin do? It's going to push glucose out of the bloodstream into the cells. Right. So you have a rapid drop in blood sugar.
And now you have less material to pull, less carbs to pull because it's 2 hours later.
I mean, think about your blood sugar is normal, but then you get the burst of insulin that you would get from a meal all of a sudden. It'd be like taking 10 to 12, 15 IUs of insulin without planning on eating. Right?
Yeah. No, that sounds like me, man.
So I would look into that. There's a test you can do through like Quest and some of the other websites too. That I think it's only like $130. And
Okay.
might be worth to see.
Yeah, I'll check that out. That definitely sounds like it could be to my benefit. Speaking of labs, have you guys seen the cost of labs going up in the last even week?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
I don't know. I heard one of the Jessica, formerly from Merrick, Victoria, does stuff with her, and she said that it's been a nationwide thing, though, that all these companies are doing it. So I'm not sure why.
Do you think it's because all these companies are now realizing that so many people are empowered with taking care of their own health and checking their own labs, and they're all kind of in cahoots? They're like, well, if we raise our price on this test $5, will you guys do the same thing? So none of us are undercutting each other. We're not going to lose business necessarily because we're doing this because you're raising your rates as well. I feel like there's a concerted effort because I have seen across all the boards, all the sites, the prices are like 20% higher than they were 6 months ago, 5 months ago.
Like non-sensitive estrogen was $10 a week ago, I think, on Merrick, and now it's like 30. Yeah.
So that's a ridiculous increase.
Yeah. Or if I go to do it through my insurance, it's like 200. You know what I mean?
Well, so that's the thing, is the push from insurance companies who probably own these companies, like as the parent company, been like, wait a minute, we want these people to go through their insurance so we can ding them that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to make our money because I mean, you guys have done this where you say, okay, I want you to get this 18 different markers, and you send a client, and the doctor's like, oh, this will be $780. And you're like, it's $220 if you go through LabCorp, or you go through Quest, or you go through Direct Labs or one of these other companies. And so I'm wondering if like the insurance companies are like, wait a minute, we need to stop this. We need to corner this market and make sure these people are paying us, you know?
Yeah.
Scumbags.
Lance has got one from Patreon. He says, I'd love to hear Skip and Andrew's take on this. In addition, Scott's, anyone that knows the answer is welcome to give it. My dad is 68 years old, dairy farmer, and does physical work every day. He's had a bypass surgery before and is on statins for his lipids. He is doing hard labor every day, and his muscles are becoming extremely sore. He thinks the statins are making him sore, and he asked me about using Test because in the past I told him that it makes you never get sore. I told him that this was a really bad idea because of his lipids and his heart surgery. Would a few shots of growth also be a bad idea for this type of a guy? Would this help him with the muscle soreness? He's old school and he works like 12 hours a day on the farm and has a pretty shit diet and chews Copenhagen. So I know the obvious first advice is to give him diet advice, and he won't take that.
I see why you asked Skip and I specifically with the Copenhagen reference.
Yeah.
So first off, I don't think it's wrong for his father, to take testosterone, and I'm not talking like a competitor cycle. I'm talking about a TRT, true TRT, to get him to some optimal levels. You know, he's definitely going to feel better energy. He's probably going to have stress reduction, better mental acuity. He'll probably sleep better. But with being on the statins, that wouldn't be a reason why I wouldn't tell someone to take testosterone. And the statins are definitely probably causing the muscle soreness, right? Because we know that they raise creatine kinase. We know that we've seen cases where people that take statins and exert a lot, similar with if you're using red yeast rice, right? With the active ingredient red yeast rice, can lead to rhabdomyolysis. So I would bet if he gets his labs done, he probably has pretty high levels of creatine kinase right now. And the answer to that is he's not going to like it. You got to take some time off. You got to recover. Maybe not work those 12 hours days, and hopefully reap the fruits of your labor for your whole life, and delegate to someone else to do that some of that stuff.
Yeah, he's not going to like that answer.
What about hydration? If he has a poor diet, he's working long hours, he's a dairy farmer, betting he's not very hydrated, how would that play into, especially with high creatinine levels, into energy and soreness?
It would be better, but you're still going to see high creatine kinase levels, and he could be in rhabdo right now. And just because it sounds like he's a tough guy, and I say that with all respect, dairy farmers in general they're a different breed. They're definitely harder than the rest of us if they can work out in the sun all day or get up at 4 a.m. and live that lifestyle. he's probably someone that's never paid anyone a dime to do anything for him around his house or around his farm. You know what I mean? And I say that with all respect.
Yeah.
But I think, especially at his age, now's the time to start winding down some of those work responsibilities if he wants to live a longer, healthier life.
Yeah.
But as Skip mentioned, more hydration is never a bad thing, right? But I don't think that's going to necessarily take away the muscle soreness. You know?
No, but I do think it's something quick, easy. Don't have to make an appointment for it. Yeah, exactly. Just kind of a first step to.
It's free.
Let's see what this does.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But I'm not against the testosterone either. I'm with you there. I think the growth hormone's a little over the top, but
yeah,
you know,
I would definitely, you know, even like 10 milligrams of testosterone every other day could probably do wonders for this guy.
Glucose disposal agents with fasted cardio to help with weight loss.
Why not just use insulin? I mean,
exactly.
Glucose disposal agents are good, but it's not going to just drop your blood sugar the same way that insulin will. And if the goal is to get your insulin or get your blood sugar levels down to a level where you're using primarily fatty acids as a fuel source during this exercise, why not just go right to the chase of what's actually going to get the job done? You know? So
let's say you wake up at, let's say you're in a good healthy spot, right? You wake up at 85 insulin, blood sugar levels. Would you administer insulin then, and what would that look like? So assuming this guy, because I want to walk this through. I don't want him just waking up in the morning, banging a bunch of insulin and getting on the treadmill, or heading off to the gym to get on the treadmill,
If he's waking up at 85, I don't know if I necessarily would add insulin. I'd say do your
there you
cardio,
go.
and let's get some results doing that. I would use insulin if people are waking up higher than 90.
Yep.
Okay.
The goal for me is to get you to a sub 90 position, and we're not talking we need to get you to 60 or even 70. What do you think, Skip?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, okay.
I was literally waiting because I was like, unless
Sorry.
there's elevated BG levels, I don't see any reason to use it.
That's why I wanted to probe further and ask.
Well, and I wasn't sure because I didn't hear you say whether it was fasted or not. So if you're doing cardio during the day and you have a more of an elevated blood sugar level, then I could see a little, an insulin use there. But fasted, unless you're elevated, I just don't see and you make a very good point. If it's 80 or low 80s or it's 67, there's no, it doesn't. No. We're splitting hairs there.
Yeah, we don't need you to fall off the treadmill.
Right.
Yeah, you're all of a sudden going to get shredded if you're doing cardio and you're at 65 versus 85. No.
Yeah. So I guess to give this guy some advice, start checking your blood sugar every time you wake up in the morning for a week, 10 days, you know. And if you're waking up primarily at 90 or below, I wouldn't even use insulin. If you're waking up 92, 93, maybe throw a unit, maybe 2 units in there, wait 20 minutes, check again just so you know what's happening, and then do your cardio. That's probably what I would do.
Possibly the day after a high carb day or a cheat.
Yeah,
you may find that you're running a little higher. That might be a day where using some insulin. I know the day after skip loads, not only myself, but clients too. Mm-hmm. That's a day where using some insulin pre-cardio, fasted, may actually be beneficial, but doesn't necessarily need to be an everyday thing.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. All right, let's see. I think I had one more. Yes, it's Kate D'Annunzio, female bodybuilder, really great physique. And she's friends with UC Suma, too, by the way. And she recently joined Patreon. She says, I've been on the road and driving a lot lately, was back in the archives. On the August 2nd, 2024 BSG, there was a talk.
I remember that one.
Yeah, of course you do.
You were there. Green hat.
Yeah.
There was a talk, and I remember this, about using BPC 157 during peak week as an experiment to reduce inflammation and heal the body up a bit. I believe it was Andrew mentioning it. Yes, it was. Did that experiment ever happen? If so, were there anything learning worthwhile that you would like to share? Or perhaps this was covered on another episode. No, it wasn't.
It's still something I do with most competitors.
Really?
I think anything you can do to help, and keep in mind, we're doing this to reduce inflammation. into that final week, where we just want your body peaked and primed, ready to receive glucose for the load, so you can present yourself the best possible. Additionally, especially if you're someone with GI distension, I definitely want to use it there. And Skips is going to be like, dude, like, because we've been talking about distension. Mm-hmm. Anything you can do, your waist cannot be small enough on stage. Now, even if you're someone with a very small waist, if you can make it smaller, it's just going to enhance your taper, and you're just going to look that much more aesthetic and better. So anything we can do to reduce inflammation, absolutely. Dosing wise, I have a lot of guys do 200 micrograms 5 times a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, but that was just based off looking at the half-life of the compound,
okay.
Which I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. But sometimes it's like, hey, just take 500 mics AM and PM, and we'll go from there. Yeah,
I look at it as more of an insurance thing. It's not something you're going to come away from and go, man, that really worked.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's insurance. It's in there to help, and you just assume that it's helping based on what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can I add one response? Tanya had a good question. She always has good ones. We were talking about insulin in the last question. Do you guys think someone who is naturally very insulin sensitive and always has low fasted blood glucose are more likely to never need or benefit from insulin in bodybuilding? And do you consider that an advantage? What do you think, Skip?
I still think you can benefit from it, depending on what you're doing. Yeah. And, but from a cardio standpoint, no. Yeah. But from training, and absolutely. I mean, keep yourself sensitive. Look, I pulled insulin, pre-workout insulin, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was pulled. I didn't pull it. And
from Rustin Paris.
Yeah, Rustin. I think that I was better off with it in, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And that's not, understand something when people hear me say that. I'm not questioning Rustin. Yeah.
Skip calls out Justin Harris on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. There's the soundbite.
It's the title,
Yeah, not at all. But I pulled it because there's no intercarbs. But I'd rather have the intercarbs because I found it to be more beneficial. But again, I've said this a million times. I'm going to say it again so that I'm not misunderstood. Yeah. There are a million different ways to get to the end result. So it's not right or wrong. It's just a different ideology or a different method.
Translate that, guys. Skip saying that Justin doesn't know how to coach people. Yeah.
Messed up his prep.
Not very good at it.
Yeah. Skip should have done it himself this whole time.
Skip has proved that he can't do it himself, so there's that.
The only thing I'll add is that insulin is the most anabolic substance, right? It is the most anabolic substance that we can put in our bodies. It's a storage hormone. So
besides
anytime
Christmas
you can store
cabbage.
Obviously. I mean, cabbage, So I mean, ideally you want someone that is super insulin sensitive using insulin. You don't want to just, you use it in a reparative sense or I'll say a reparative sense with someone who has poor insulin sensitivity, right? But you're only going to reap more benefits if you're super insulin sensitive because you can get away with probably using a little bit less and getting amplified results out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. We're glad to have you here. Thank you for watching another episode. And if you have enjoyed this, if you picked something up from it, please hit the like button because it really does make a difference. It helps. It might not change anything in your algorithm, but it will help to push us out so that more people can see the show. And of course, if you're new here and you're enjoying the show, we'd love to have you along. We have a bunch of different shows that come out each week. So definitely subscribe and hit the bell and all that stuff and comment with questions for the next show. That includes you guys over on Patreon. Comment up, fill up the Q&A over there. We'll be back to tackle all your questions. And it also to Patreon people, if you want a physique critique, let me know. I'll be sure to get that together. And go to bodyberry.com to reach out to Andrew and teamskip.com to reach out to Skip. Hit me up, mcnallydiets@gmail.com. And of course, truenutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there, supplementsource.ca for our Canadians. And I already talked to you guys about Patreon. Thank you guys very much for your support. You really do make this thing come together. For another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear, we'll see you soon. Thank you guys. I appreciate you being here with me and doing the show. Thanks everybody in the live stream.
Yeah, good.